Welcome back to 5 Miles Easy with me, Rose Harvey.
And me, Steph McCall. She's an Olympian.
And she's an elite ultra runner, so you might think we have this running thing pretty figured out.
We absolutely don't, but we're on a mission to become better runners.
And we're bringing you along for the journey.
So let's lace up for 5 Miles Easy.
Steph, today we are talking about running advice we would give to our younger selves. I feel like this is quite a relevant topic at the moment because we've both had big races, and after a big race there's always that period of like reflecting and working out what's next and, you know, what you can do better and stuff. But I don't know about you, but I always am thinking about the next thing, and sometimes it's quite funny, not funny, but like good to look back at how far you've come. Yeah. And like the things that when I started looking at this topic, I started thinking about like how I used to train 4 or 5 years ago, and it was so different. And I'm like, wow, I've learned a lot in the process.
Yeah, no,
I've come a long way.
Well done. Very, very proud of you. But yeah, I feel the same. But like, I guess perhaps I've been taking running seriously for a long time as well. So I look back to when I was 18 years old and think, God, you really knew nothing then. Just the things I would do. I'd sprint all my easy runs thinking that was a really good way of doing it. And just, especially the shoes I'd be wearing. Obviously, the technology's better now anyway, but I just had no knowledge of what I was meant to be wearing. And yeah, lots of learnings.
I know, the shoes, I went through like so many phases. Like I'd run in like really minimalist shoes. Yeah. And then I remember the first time I put on carbon shoes, and for so long like I was not buying into it. I was like, it's all marketing spiel, I don't need carbon shoes. And then I put them on in a half marathon for the first time, like never tested them, fresh out of the box. Classic. Again, like why? I flew.
Yeah, I bet it felt so different.
It felt so different, but it's so funny, like I would never do that now.
Yes,
but I just didn't know any different. I was like, well, yes, just buy these new shoes and let's give it a crack.
Yeah, always.
So relaxed about it.
Yeah, always. And then I probably, a few years ago, if carbon shoes existed back then, I probably would have been wearing them for all my runs. Yeah. Because I'd be like, they feel great, let's do that. And then I'd probably end up injured or something. So yes, a lot of things. But before we delve into some more advice we would give our younger selves, shall we catch up on where we're at with training at the moment?
Yes, let's do it. I feel like we're in kind of a similar place because you've just got back to sessions. Yeah. I've also sort of just got back to sessions. I've actually been doing sessions for a few weeks, but feels like a bit of a slow. I'm like the diesel engine is slowly getting going.
So they feel more like normal sessions now.
Yeah, kind of, but I don't know, it's just felt like a bit of I've been rumbling along.
But how are you dealing with that, I guess? Do you feel positive about it? Are you motivated, or has it been a bit of a slog?
For our very attentive listeners, you will notice I am not in America, which was my original plan. And part of that, I was going out to train with the team and then also do this 10K. Training with the team wasn't going to work out because everyone was going to altitude and I wasn't. So that plan got scrapped. And then with this 10K, to be honest, I was like, I am not ready for it. And I'm really trying to learn my lesson on patience and not come back too quickly. And just like, my temptation is to always force training and be like, right, I need a bit of a kick up the bum and to just kind of force my body into it. And there's not a lot of point at the moment because I don't have a major goal in the next 4 weeks. So decided not to do that, which I think was the boring decision because I was actually really looking forward to doing this 10K because it was fun. But it was a sensible decision because it's allowed me to take getting back into training a little slower and more sensibly, which is a good thing. And I've really been trying to, like, in my sessions coming back, not go too crazy, go for consistency rather than A-star sessions.
Always. And I think what you just said there about you, for that particular race, you didn't feel ready, but also recognizing the purpose of different races. Because say it was like a local race down the road, you might have still done it because it was just, let's just see where I'm at, and you can almost treat it as training. But flying to New York to do, I guess, quite a serious race, actually you want to feel really ready for that one.
Yeah, and I just felt like I mean, I wasn't ready, and I was never going to be that fit for a few weeks after London, but I just felt like it had been really like forcing my body into a place it wasn't ready to go.
Yeah.
And I think that's the danger with racing really soon, even if it is a bit of a tester. It's like, is your body ready to be pushed that little bit harder than you go in training? So, yeah, it's actually been really nice just being able to ease back into training a bit and not stress about the paces. Yeah. So I did a session the other day and I had 3-mile tempo at my marathon. Like, it was a little bit quicker than my marathon pace. It wasn't easy, I have to say. Like, it felt okay, but I was like, not as easy as I was hoping, but there's no pressure on it, which is really nice.
But isn't that also amazing to think that, how long ago was it? Almost
I know.
2 months that you were able to hold that pace for 26.2 miles.
I tell you what, I wouldn't have been able to do an extra 23 miles after that tempo.
But it's quite cool to think you're at a base now, but where your body can get to.
Yeah.
Like, that's the gap.
Yeah, and hopefully it's, training, you're never just on an upward trajectory.
Yeah.
You kind of dip down and then hopefully you kind of go up further than you've gone up before.
Yeah.
Then you have to dip down again. But how's it been for you?
No, very similar, but I did my first interval session on Friday just gone, which I have to say was horrendous. I think also, and I guess we talk a bit about mindset as well, but I think I went into it just not feeling mentally good anyway. As you know, I had a very emotional day, which I can go into as well. But the session itself was, I just felt, I went into it like not feeling good mentally. And so you just, when you have to almost be up for it. Yeah. And when you're not up for it, you're just like, oh, whatever. And then that combined with being physically unfit, I guess, all relative, like more unfit than I was, it just was such a slog. But I decided, I was like, I'm going to do 20 by a minute on, minute off, which actually is quite a lot of reps.
That is a lot of.
But it was
that's quite mentally tough though, 20 reps.
Yeah, I was just like, I have to do it. Like, I'm not stopping till it's done. But what I did do is I didn't lap it, so I couldn't actually see the pace of each minute. Okay. I just looked at my watch, like saw that a minute was done, and then I'd jog for a minute and then just keep going. So that kind of made it a bit more fun.
Yeah.
I think if I was like seeing like paces or whatever, like I would have just...
It might be a bit demotivating.
Yeah. And then a woman came up to me and told me she was putting her dog down that day. So that really topped the day off. That is in my emotional state.
Yeah, that's not okay.
It was not, but I was glad I could, comfort her in that moment. So anyway, that was a whole ordeal. Fast forward to Tuesday this week. I was like, right, next one, let's do it. And I did 4 sets of 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute. Way better. Went into it much more positive. And I was like, oh, you know what? Like, I feel good today. It felt hard, but in a good way.
Yeah. Sometimes I feel like you need those bad sessions where you're not feeling up for it, because then it's like fueling the fire for the next one, thinking, right, I can't have 2 bad sessions.
Yeah.
In my head, it's never an option to have 2 bad sessions.
Yeah, exactly.
Not always realistic. But from a mental perspective, I then go into that session being like, I have to be positive.
Yeah, exactly. And I think maybe because I'd set the bar so low, I was like, okay, well,
the only way is up.
Yeah, I was like, the only way is up. And I kind of in my mind thought, okay, I'll probably be running really slow, so it's fine. So I think I surprised myself. I was like, oh, I'm not actually as unfit as I thought I was.
It comes back quickly.
It does, yeah. I mean, I've got a ways to go, but it kind of felt good. And like you say, it felt nice that I was in that place where I'm definitely, got a ways to go, but it kind of doesn't feel like a rush because I've got nothing coming up.
Yeah. So are you still planning to do some shorter distances over summer? What do you think?
Yeah. So it's funny what you said about the 10K, and like, I kind of want to do I'm doing a race a month this year. I was trying to race it. So I was like, what am I going to do in June? I'm so not ready. But I thought maybe I'll do a 5K in June, but it will be terrible, and just accepting whatever the time is not going to be what I want, and just almost see where I'm at, and then do another 5K in July, like 4 weeks later, and see if there's progress.
Yeah.
That might be fun.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, especially if it's like a low key, as you said, like if
like
it's a low key, local 5K, then it can just be training.
Yeah.
And treat it like a, hard tempo session.
Yeah, that's what I think. Because at the moment, I'm not training for any long races. So I'm like, why don't I just sort of test myself and just do a little personal experiment, set a baseline 5K time, and then 4 weeks later, can I go back and, improve it by a good margin.
Absolutely smash it.
Yeah. So we will see how that goes.
Amazing. And at the other end of the spectrum to a 5K, can we just talk about Comrades?
Yes.
Because 2 of our previous podcasts, Carla and Herda, Carla has been on 4 times? 3 times?
No, I think
4 times.
Yeah, twice as a guest, once as a co-host, and then once with me just chatting the race debrief.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, they both absolutely smashed it. Herda won for the 3rd time, which never in doubt, but just incredible.
She averaged 6:15 a mile for 90k.
Yeah.
Whatever that is, 50
And for anyone
miles.
who doesn't know what Comrades is, it's... How far is it?
It was 90k this year. It slightly differs each year depending, but
yeah,
90k.
And just insane elevation.
Yeah.
I mean, it alternates between up years and down years. So this year was a down year, wasn't it? But it still has a lot of uphill as well.
Exactly.
And the downhills are really hard because they trash your quads.
Yeah.
But yeah, just incredible. And I was watching her on the tracker, and it was until like halfway she was in 2nd.
Yeah.
And then it just looked like she flew past.
I know. I saw that and I thought she knows what she's doing.
She knows what she's doing.
I actually took my phone. I had my phone in my hand whilst I was doing my run, and I was like refreshing the tracker on my run. It was like some entertainment. But yeah, I saw the same with Carla as well, because she started a bit further back.
Yes.
And she ended up finishing in 6th place, which was absolutely incredible because she actually had an injury in the build-up, so didn't run for like 2 or 3 weeks.
I know.
So
amazing that they both
result.
absolutely smashed it. And I was when I was tracking everyone, I remember like seeing them go through 50k, and I was like, wow, like this is incredible. I was in my head, I was like, they're nearly done. Like it's 50k, and I was like, hang on, no, they've still got a marathon.
Oh, yeah, I know.
To do.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it is just such a long way. But has it given you the bug to do it next year?
Definitely. Like, I think always in my mind, I wanted to do it next year, even before I'd done the 100k. And then once I did that, I was like, okay, well, I've done that distance. At least it's shorter a bit. But I also, I think just the sort of fanfare and the excitement around Comrades just looks so fun, and the support along the whole route is insane.
It's such a big deal in South Africa.
Yeah.
It is insane. And all the photos I've seen, the crowds are just like huge, which is crazy for a 90k race to have crowds
the whole
on
way.
Every photo. It does look really, really fun.
Yeah. So I think, it's one of those things that...
Next year. So you're going to be starting with an up year?
Which was always my plan as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I wanted to, just because it is slower, but it's less, I think, brutal. Like you say, you don't smash your quads as much. I think the recovery afterwards is a bit easier on the up run than the down.
Yeah.
So I think I'd just rather have that as like my entry level.
And probably then a bit easier to train for, especially living in London, because I feel like with downhills, you just like, it's hard to train to run that many downhills without getting injured. Whereas uphills, you can, like, it's fitness essentially. So you just...
Yeah.
You can kind of run with fitness up the uphills.
Exactly. Yeah, so the up will be next year. And the year after, I think, is the 100th year or something. It's like a big one. So then, you can do the up, then the down, and that'll be a good one. But
okay.
And you've mentioned before that you would like to do Comrades.
I would love to do it. I would really love to do it. And every time I watch it, I'm like, I really want to do it. I mean, I think it has to be one for post-retirement from marathon running at least.
Yeah, it might take over a few months of your life, annoyingly.
Yeah, that's the thing. It probably isn't that conducive to running 2 marathons a year. I mean, Herda does but she is an absolute machine and not human.
Yeah.
So I'm not comparing myself to that. But yeah, I think I will 100% do it at some point.
Yeah, so exciting.
So linking back to our theme of what would you tell your younger self? What would young Steph say about Comrades who wanted to be a sprinter?
It's so funny. Oh my gosh.
Who would have thought?
Yeah, because I remember the days of me wanting to be a sprinter, and I'd see my dad go out for a run. I'd be like, why would anyone want to do that? And he's probably going, 3 miles for this run? And yeah, back then, no. I don't know, just over the years. But I think that's quite natural, for a lot of athletes over the years, you just up the distance. So
from 100 meters to 100k. It's quite extreme, really, isn't it?
I'm telling you now, I competed in the 100 meters. I did multiple 100-meter races. I'm not joking.
And you won.
I won.
I thought you won.
I won some races.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, I was 12 years old.
Yeah.
So, you know, yeah. But no, I wouldn't have believed it then. Yeah. Look how far I've come, quite literally.
Quite literally.
Right. So, advice to our younger selves. Is there kind of an overarching thing that you think about when you see yourself now that you would tell your younger self starting out running?
Quite a few things, to be honest.
Okay.
As we said earlier, it is so funny when I look back at what I did. I'm like, wow, I really didn't have a clue. And I mean, I didn't necessarily think I had a clue at the time, but I really, really didn't have a clue.
You don't know what you don't know.
You don't know what you don't know. I think one of the big things would be you don't need to go and smash every run. And I like every single session, I would have to try and run quicker. And if I didn't, it was like, oh my God, this is an absolute disaster. But, you know, it was like every session had to be an A-star session. And inevitably, you have a few and then you get injured. And every week, you know, I'd look and there would have to be something that would have to be further or faster.
Yeah.
But it doesn't work like that. Like, especially in marathon training, it doesn't work like that. So that was one thing that I've definitely learnt the hard way. And it's been a bit of a slow burner lesson, I would say.
Yeah.
But a very important one.
Do you feel like having a coach has helped you with that as well? Just understanding there's a process to this.
Yes.
Trust me. Just you don't need to hit those paces you think you need to hit. Actually, hold yourself back a little bit and train consistently and you'll get where you want to get to.
Yes, 100%. And what really helps is actually having... My coach often tells me the sessions, right, like this is not the session to go and dig yourself into a hole.
Yeah.
And I am allowed those sessions. I need to be allowed those sessions when I can dig myself into a hole because firstly I quite enjoy it. But
yeah,
knowing that I've like got those sessions coming up, it makes me more restrained in other sessions. So I'm like, no, okay, I need to save myself because then if I don't hit the splits on a session that is important, that's going to be really annoying.
Yeah.
So yes, it really helps kind of having some structure and like knowing when to rein it in. Like this period that I'm in now, it's like it's not the time to go and smash myself.
Yeah,
so just save it because the hard work is coming.
Absolutely. And I always think back, I mean, it's a bit different now because my mileage is so much higher than what I used to do a few years ago. It's sometimes hard to compare the two because I almost could push myself harder then because I guess you've not got as much fatigue in your legs. But I do think when I got a coach and he said, you know, you can run a bit slower on the easier days. And I was like, really? Well, where's the fun in that? He's like, no, like people do run slower. And I was like, okay. And so I started to, and I was like, okay, this is actually quite enjoyable, really. I think that was definitely a big one. But I also think it comes with age. Like, I could not go out the door now and just like run really fast. I'm very creaky.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So that was the one thing I was thinking about as well. So I used to do most of my training before work because by the time I never knew when I was going to finish work, and like if it got to 11 p.m. I did often run home actually, but it wasn't very enjoyable.
That must be scary.
Well, so, I don't know, sometimes it's just quite a nice de-stress.
Yeah, I guess so. Just quite quiet.
It's all through the city, so it's fine. And maybe I was just a bit naive and stupid, quite possible. But yeah, I used to do all of my training before work and literally rolled out of bed 5:45 and would be out the door at 6.
Yeah.
Running.
Yeah. I used to do that.
I don't know.
No, I couldn't do that now. No. I used to do
I've
the exact
aged.
same. And also I didn't really care as much about sleep then. So I'd be like, oh, I know I have to get up at 5:45, but I wouldn't be bothered. I wouldn't be like, oh, I must be asleep now, which I'm very much like, if I know I have to get up early, I'm like, right, I've got to get to bed. Whereas then I'd be like, oh, it's fine. But I think I could just deal with it more then.
Yeah.
That'd be no problem.
Same. It didn't bother me. I could go to bed at like midnight and just get up and I'll be tired. But then
you just go.
In my head, I was like, oh, well, my run will wake me up.
Yeah, which it does.
It does.
And you do. And then I think I would feel a bit tired later in the day. But like, the evening comes around, you're fine again.
Yeah, it is incredible. But I guess that was another thing that now we talk about a lot. But back then I just didn't have a clue about was fueling.
Yeah.
And I used to do, which was terrible, I used to do all my runs before breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't, I just didn't think about it.
Yeah, because you'd be
Just
like,
go
well,
and-
I'll eat after.
Yeah, do
Yeah.
my session
Yeah.
on my way to work, just have a coffee.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, get to work, go and have a shower. And then, you know, hours later, I'll be getting breakfast. And
Yeah.
it's just, like, no one ever told me
No,
not to do that.
completely. And I think the main thing is the timing of fueling.
Yes.
I think I guess I would knew, obviously you have to eat enough, but like I would never know, oh, you must get something in, like a bit of carbs before you eat, before you run, sorry, and then something straight after. Because now if I don't have something straight after I run, I'm like, oh my God, like I need to get something. Like I almost
Same.
panic, like this is going to cause me to get
Yeah.
injured after one run. And I'm like,
Same.
whereas then, yeah, you just don't think about it. Like,
Yeah.
you're so aware of the things that could cause injury and help you recover
Yeah.
and how impactful they are.
I know, right? And it's to your point earlier, it's like you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And it just never crossed my mind. And I used to I used to actually wait on purpose, because at like 10:30 when I was in the law firm, we'd have these like breakfast spreads out from eating. So I was such a cheapskate. I would wait till I could just go and steal all the pastries.
I mean, totally understandable.
Yeah,
I
but
love that.
not great for training.
Yeah, and another thing on fueling I just thought of is when I trained for my first marathon, which isn't actually that long. This was 6 years ago, and I got really excited because I had never had a gel before at this point, and I thought I'm going to be trained for a marathon. I can try those gel things that people have, but I had no idea about like carbs per hour or anything like that, and I didn't know how many you're meant to have. So I'll be like, oh, I'll just have like one every 5 or 6 miles, I guess. But actually, no. And the ones I was having had like 20 grams of carbs. So actually, when I work out the maths now, I was having definitely not enough. I mean, better than nothing.
Yeah, better than nothing.
But
I mean, I think for my first marathon, I'm not even sure I had a gel.
well, yeah.
So
Yeah.
you did better than me.
Yeah.
But you're right,
Exactly.
it is now. Now we're like so aware of it.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
it's like, I do think now there's a lot more advice out there. So hopefully
Yes.
if our younger selves were in today's age, we wouldn't make those
you're
mistakes.
right.
But
Yeah, I think like with the running boom and it kind of so many running influencers and like a lot of people sharing
Yes.
advice online, it is, yeah, you're right, there is just more out there. So hopefully we would be better. Another thing that you now see all over Instagram is how important strength training is.
yes.
And it's weird actually because at uni I would do S&C because it was part of the athletics club. They had a performance group which felt very elite. So a select few people could go and access the performance gym. So we were guided to do that. And I did it because I thought that was quite cool that I could go and do this. But I didn't really understand how important it is. So when I left uni, I didn't keep it up to the same level. I would go to the gym and just do like a little bit here and there. So I did do bits, but I think now, especially with Aidan's help as well, like he's taught me
Yes.
so much and how important it is that I get scared if I've missed a couple sessions.
Yeah, same. And I genuinely notice it if I have not done my session, like, coming back after the marathon, I'd had a break from the gym and then you don't really do much in taper, and I really felt the difference.
Yeah.
I also really ached after the first session. I was like, oh yes, that's a sure sign I have had a little break from the gym.
It's always my glutes after a break. I'll do
Yes.
some split squats and the next day I'm like, yep, that can feel those.
They're alive.
Yeah. But it's kind of good because then you know you're doing something every time you go.
Yes, true. Yeah, I mean, I didn't used to do any gym at all.
Yeah.
And again, it's just one of those things, like, didn't know to do it.
Yeah.
And didn't really enjoy it, and I was
Exactly. That's the
didn't
thing.
have time. All of these things. The other big thing I've kind of learnt the hard way is about prioritizing recovery, and again, so with gym stuff, it always used to be like bottom of my priority list, because in my head it was like, right, running comes before everything else, and I didn't really understand that actually to get the benefit from that, I had to do some gym work and recover, and it might be better to do a little bit less running and actually make time for these other things.
Yeah.
And gym work was one of them. Recovery is another big one that I kind of saw as not doing anything. So I was like, that's,
Yeah.
you know,
Lazy.
I don't need to sleep. I don't need to,
Yeah.
do my physio exercises, anything like that. But now I realize like how important it is, and how like there's actually no point doing training really hard if you're not also going to balance that with hard recovery. So I've
Yeah.
worked on it a lot over the last few years, but got better at it.
And do you feel like, say, for example, your recovery from London, you now treat that post-race recovery so differently to how you would have done a few years ago?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I still like always overcommit myself after these races, but and then end up being really busy and exhausted by the end. But yes, like definitely I now really respect the time off and make sure I like really take good time off, get good sleep, and then wait till my body is recovered to go again.
Yeah.
Rather than just, chucking myself into training again and doing. I remember after, I think it was after London 2021, I went and did a half Ironman as a holiday.
I remember that. Yeah.
It was actually really fun, but probably not a good idea, was it?
That's so funny. But I don't feel like I questioned that at the time either. So maybe my mindset would be different on that as well if you said that. That's really funny. But yeah, I also think one of the really hard recovery points is mentally switching off as well. Because you can kind of think, okay, you do your sleep, you eat properly, whatever. But actually, like, giving yourself a bit of downtime every day can be really hard, especially, like, I guess our personalities, like, you want to always be sort of switched on, being productive. That's what I hate, not being productive.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to switch off, but actually just giving your mind a bit of a break as well is so important.
Yes, 100%. I remember, I think I've said this on the pod before, but my sports psychologist told me something really interesting about, there's scientific evidence that if you like go on your phone after training, it actually basically decreases the benefit of that training session, because your brain and the stimulation and the kind of cortisol and the dopamine from being on your phone and engaging in it like is additional stress, so your body's not recovering. And so now I do try and not like, my toxic trait is straight back on the laptop, and now I try to not do that straight away and just like take 5 minutes. It's only 5 minutes, and just chill out.
I think it's such a good tip. And one of the things I do now is I charge my phone at night downstairs so that I because
can't go on it.
Otherwise it'll be next to me, and like if I'm not super tired, because I always go to bed early, but sometimes you're just not like super tired, so I'll be like, oh, I'll just like look at a few things, and you're like, actually that's probably kept me up longer than if I just tried to go to sleep. So now I'm trying to just keep the phone away, and then it means in the morning you're not just like looking straight at your phone. I'm like, okay, I actually have to like get changed or whatever before I go downstairs and then get my phone. So that, I think that's quite a good tip as well, because I know a lot of people will definitely be like, the last thing I heard a podcast the other day where it was saying like, so if you sleep next to a partner, a lot of people will see their phone the last thing before they sleep rather than their partner, and first thing in the morning they'll see their phone before they see their partner. It's like not true. Very healthy.
I know, that is so weird, isn't it?
So might be a good one if people struggle.
I love that. What about mindset? Looking back, what would you tell your younger self about running mindset, and what's changed for you?
Yeah, it's funny because I think in the early days you had the naivety still, and which is almost a good thing, because I don't know, I think when you know more about splits, everything, it just can become more stressful, so then you had to learn to deal with it. But when you don't really understand that, you can just enjoy running for running, especially when you're on a path of progression as well. You're like, I'm just getting faster. I think a big thing is just not comparing yourself to anyone else and following what's going to excite you and what you enjoy. And if you are because running, I think, it's not always going to be great, and you're going to have bad patches. So just remembering that even if it's lasting a few months, like, you'll come out of it. Just if you enjoy running, just keep doing it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. If you enjoy it, like, is it even a bad patch?
No,
Like, if your
exactly.
performance goes down, it doesn't mean you can't enjoy it.
Exactly. I think then, yeah, sort of switching your perspective round and thinking, don't put success or enjoyment on how fast you can run.
Yeah.
For example, just switch it around and be like, okay, well, maybe I'm not achieving, kind of my goals right now, but at least I can go out for a lovely run in some nice places, whatever.
Yeah. Or go and, like, join a group or something, or do something that you might not do if you are just focusing on paces all the time. And there's always I don't know, go and do some trail or a different distance.
Yeah.
Like, there's so much you can do to just mix it up and take the focus off a pace that you're trying to hit. If you're not hitting it and it's demotivating you.
Yeah. Make your goal to have fun.
Yes. Yeah. I love that.
What about you?
Yeah, I think very similar. Like, focusing on the journey is so important. It sounds really cliche, but it is most of it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, training is such a bigger proportion than racing.
Yeah.
And I think what I really enjoy racing. Like, I love it. I love the buzz, especially marathons. It's really exciting. I love the build up and training for an event, and I do need a goal.
Mm-hmm.
But whether it goes well or not well, it's never it never feels as incredible as you think it's going to feel.
Yeah.
And actually, some of my kind of most joyful moments and the biggest rewards have been in training. And it's been really good sessions or times that I've kind of done a lot more than I thought I could. And also just like training with friends and all those really fun times. Like, those are the ones I look back on. And of course, the races I do look back on, I'm like, oh, it's so amazing.
Yeah.
But I don't know, there have been equally as many really cool moments in training, and I think enjoying it is so important.
Yeah, it's so important because, like you say, even if you got the PB you've been dreaming of course you're going to be very happy, but then quite soon after, be like, well, maybe I could run faster than that. And it's you have to accept you'll never be fully satisfied. Like, there isn't this sort of destination that you're trying to reach in life. Like, you're never going to get there.
I would honestly say, like, the real high of achieving something probably lasts 5 minutes for me. Before that thought comes into my head of like, okay, but what could I have done better?
Yeah, exactly. But I think that is just life as well. Like, everyone's trying to chase something, but you're never going to get there. So you need to enjoy just the whole journey of chasing fun things, of course, but just accept you're actually never going to achieve it.
Yeah, and that has to be part of the fun.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But yeah, I'm not sure I realised that as... I would have probably had like a catastrophic meltdown if I didn't achieve my goals. And it was like all about the outcome.
Yeah.
And then if it didn't happen, it was like end of the world.
Yeah.
So embarrassing. I remember I cried after a park run once.
Because you didn't get
I think I didn't break 20 minutes and I cried.
Well, see, it shows how relative it is, because imagine you knew then
really
how
sad,
fast you'd be able to run a park run in a few years' time.
I know.
You'd be like, this is crazy. But yeah, it shows no matter what pace you're running, it's just, you could become very stressful.
Poor Charlie had to pick up the pieces as well. The funny thing was as well, I remembered this the other day because it was Clapham Common Park Run.
Okay.
Which is just like not the fastest park run either. And I remember I didn't break 20 minutes. I was so upset about it.
Poor you, Rose. Well, you can, at least you can break 20 minutes now. So hopefully.
I would hope so.
And linking to that is a reminder for everyone, really, that no matter what time you run, whether you've achieved your goal or not, no one else really cares. And that's not to be in a horrible way. Of course, people care about you, but no one's judging you for your time. No one's putting your worth is not what time you ran, So never feel, if a race didn't go to plan, there's no point just sort of like dwelling on it for ages and ages, because no one else is thinking about it as much as you are. So I think that's definitely something that I've had to learn, because I don't know what it is. You just think like, oh no, like, but people must think that I'm not as fast as I know I am. But no one's thinking that.
No one's thinking that. And I've never thought that about anyone else. Like, if they've had a bad race, I'm like, that's really disappointing for them. They didn't run as fast as I know they can.
Yeah, exactly.
But
You're not
it's
thinking
like,
they're
oh,
really
well,
unfit and slow.
yeah.
It's just, yeah. So I think those bad races will happen, but just brush them off and keep going.
Yeah. And like every race is not going to be amazing. You've got to have the bad ones.
But they make the good ones great.
They make the good ones great.
Yes.
We also have some very good tips from our listeners when we put this question out on Instagram. And actually, I have to say, we're not alone. We've had a lot of very similar answers, which is good to know. Firstly, slow down. Longevity is key. Yeah, I couldn't agree with that more.
Yes. Don't race all of your runs.
Yeah, definitely. Although I still feel like that's a real thing for people starting out. It's like, go and smash every run and run a PB.
And I do get it a bit because it's quite exciting. If you've just got into running, then you kind of testing yourself a bit.
Yeah.
But if you're going to be training for a goal and you genuinely just want to get better, then follow a training plan and slow down.
Just start. I love that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just give it a crack.
Absolutely.
Gym work.
Yes, as
Very,
we've discussed,
very important.
hit the gym. Don't doubt yourself. I really like that.
Yes.
I think that's a really good one because if you're putting in the work, just believe in yourself.
Yeah. And also, I think that kind of ties back to appreciating the whole journey and the ups and downs of it. And it's all part of it. But, if you really want to go for a goal and you're passionate about it and you're willing to work hard, you'll get there. You've also got enjoy it. Definitely agree with that one.
As you said, you've got to enjoy the journey and trust the process.
Yes, love that.
And the final one, fuel your body. That is a very good learning. If you weren't doing that before, you better start doing it now.
Yeah, no 6 a.m. fasted runs, please, listeners.
Absolutely. Right. So thank you very much for sending those in. I am glad that we aren't the only ones who have
made some rookie errors in our time.
Exactly.
Not saying we're perfect now, still making rookie errors, but we live and we learn.
We do.
But thank you, listeners, for sending those in. And if you do want to get in touch, message us about anything.
We love receiving messages and chatting with you all.
Running related, non-running related questions or anything you'd like to see on the show. Drop us a line. Or a message.
Drop us a line. And we will be back next week with a very familiar face on the sofa. So I'm excited for that.
Yes. More fantastic tips coming your way. Thanks for joining us. 5 Miles Easy.
See you next time.